local governments, all the 1,632 cities and municipalities, all the 42,000 barangays, which is the smallest political unit, all 80 provinces, would understand what they should do as local government heads so that their constituents would understand climate change. So the Commission on Climate Change, which is headed by the President of the Republic of the Philippines, at the time when I wrote the bill, which eventually was enacted into law, I did not know that the person, my seatmate behind me, Noynoy Aquino, would become president. So I wrote that bill. It became into law 2009 during President Arroyo's time, the previous president, and finally it became enacted. And so no less, the 2010 elected President Aquino, who's now on his last few months ending his term, because that's the way I wrote the law. I wanted it so powerful that the president of our country would be the head. Then it has 3 commissioners who are appointed by the president. It has a board of advisors, it has a whole body, and the vice chair would be secretary level, cabinet level. Now, the President Arroyo was signing the climate change law. When was that? I believe it's 2009, and that's me with the short hair. Did I have short hair then? Yeah, I was the lady wearing green on the left, or the Arroyo's also wearing green. That's our Senate President there, Enrile. Okay. So she signed it into law. But, you know, laws are signed into law, and it takes time for laws to get implemented. It's always a work in progress. Okay. And something so important here, RA 9729, or 2009, correct. We aimed for a climate risk resilient country that proactively implements cost-effective and nationally approved mitigation actions. Actually, now I want to amend that because that's lacking. It should not just be nationally approved mitigation actions, but of course adaptation. Just like Nepal, we are non-emitters in the world. What is your emission in greenhouse gas emissions in the world? What is your contribution? We're less than 1%. We're 0.3. I'm sure Nepal is much less than us, right? So our commonality is we are non-emitters in the world, but we are vulnerable.
Exactly.
That's why all the more we should embrace climate change as our advocacy. We didn't cause it, but why are we affected by it? And so that is what our Climate Change Act is all about, to be the negotiating body to attend all these conferences, all these agreements that needs to be inked, most especially the Paris Agreement in COP21 in December and in April 22 in New York. But apart from that, many, many activities, but also locally. So there is local climate action in this country of 100 million people. Now, each local government must have their local climate change adaptation plan. I admit, not all the towns and cities have that yet. We still need to capacitate them. We still need to make them understand that it is a humanitarian issue, that it's a major issue. But I believe that 25%, if I'm not mistaken, of the local government units, so 1/4 of our country, already has a climate action plan. In the next 3 years and 3 months of my term, because my term ends on June 30th, 2019, I want to focus on capacitating all our local governments so that they would have their local action plan. Because how can we even defend or protect ourselves from the natural hazards if we don't even have a plan of action? We should be combat ready to combat climate change. So that's the Climate Change Act. We also have the national, you can show the slide earlier on NDRR, the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Law. Yes, that's 2010. This, I'm not very happy with this bill enacted into law because it created a council where the National Defense Department is the lead. And you have other agencies like the Social Welfare and Development, Department of Education. Almost all agencies of government are members of this NDRIMC Council. But you know, councils are councils. We need a permanent agency, not just being convened when there's already a flood or a storm. So I'm not so happy with this, although I'm one of the authors of this, but I think we should have something stronger than simply an NDREAMC council that was everybody's just ex officio or interim, or they just get together when there's a warning of a hazard.
More ceremonial type.
Ceremonial, but actually they act. And there's a secretariat, the Office of Civil Defense, under the Department of National Defense, is a secretariat for this law. So in the next 3 years, I'm thinking of how to create a stronger, more well-funded body that we would have. Although I must admit that the United Nations has regarded these two laws that I authored and co-authored as one of the best in the world. So I'm happy about that. For me, it's not the best, even if they say it's the best. And I always critique myself. I'm never happy with what I'm doing. So the third, the People Survival Fund. The People Survival Fund was part of the original climate change bill. What do I mean? This was not an independent law. But for some reason, as you all know, in the process of legislation, the way it's written is not the way it comes out. And there were some non-believers in climate change that said, oh, let's take out the funding mechanism. Okay, let her have her climate change law, but it's not funded. Because sometimes legislation is a child of compromise to get it passed. I agreed. So it was not funded. We created the Climate Change Commission, no funding. What I did the next years is to, that portion which was extricated from my law, I filed it as a separate bill. And the Senate President at the time supported it because I made him watch The Inconvenient Truth of Al Gore, among many things. And I kept on talking to him and his chief of staff because he didn't understand. He said, Iha is like a term of endearment for a young girl. Why are you always talking about climate change? I said, because it's the most important issue for time. It's the greatest humanitarian challenge. It's a national security issue. He said, why? I don't understand. To make a long story short, he eventually filed it himself. He was Senate President, and I sponsored it, and it was enacted into law. So what I'm saying is that 2 steps back, 1 step backward, 2 steps forward, I agreed to the creation of the Climate Change Commission without the funding mechanism, filing it much later, years later, and enacted into law. So we have twin laws now. We have the People Survival Fund, which establishes finance systems so that government can provide people's organizations, civil society organizations, farmers groups, and local governments with funding for their local action plan. Now, again, it was a hurdle to get the PSF. It's enacted into law, but the non-believer said, let's not fund it. Because there's so many unfunded laws in this country. Brilliant lawmakers with a date, signed by the president. It's never implemented because it's unfunded. So it was relegated as an unfunded law. I would not allow that. So what we did was, I lobbied that it be funded, but then the big guys would say, oh, let's put it in the unprogrammed fund, meaning you can only utilize it when our expenses, our income overshoots the expenses. So here again, it's like little brother, and we can't have it in program. The next year, I put it in program, but the funds were so small. But I became chairman of finance. Now they have 1 billion pesos in funding. They put a climate activist and an environmentalist as chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, and I wouldn't have it any other way. We have 1 billion People Survival Fund for this year and 1 billion last year savings, right? For some reason, they were not able to spend their 1 billion last year despite the need, and that's my frustration with the slow and inefficient bureaucracy. Okay, those taping this, you do not put it on TV tonight, okay? I'm just saying this. Because sometimes we have the best laws, but the executive are just too slow. Because there's the funding in 2015. We have the natural hazards. We're clearly a victim of climate change, but they're not spending it. And so El Nino, which is happening in our country, which was forewarned in 2014, which I warned about in 2014, which I've been talking about for 20 years, happened, and we had deaths in Mindanao because the agencies of government, despite having the funds, did not spend it. That's why I had a similar meeting last Friday with the agencies of government whom we gave funds to, and they had 50 billion pesos unspent, scratching their heads, sitting in their chairs in air-conditioned offices while farmers were suffering and not giving the support systems provided for by law in my Congress. That's really irritating, to say the least. Okay. So, we have the best laws. The challenge for me now, as a three-term lawmaker in the next 3 years, is to make sure these laws work. To make sure these laws are not just funded, but they work. So we will exercise oversight, function over the executive, one by one. Department of Agriculture, did you give support to our farmers? Have you targeted areas? Department of Social Welfare, did you give rice, etc.? People Survival Fund and Climate Change Commission, did you actually capacitate these local governments so that they would know how to deal with El Nino? And then after we have La Nina. So, all of that. So, apart from enacting the climate change law, which I will give you a copy of, the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Law, which I will give you a copy of, and the People Survival Fund, which used to be part of the climate change law, but I told you a story of how some of my colleagues took it out, but I put it back and enacted it into a separate law. What I've done, and I felt it wasn't enough to enact these into laws, was to mainstream disaster risk reduction in our national budget. What do I mean? Because these agencies created by my laws were not enough to convince the whole bureaucracy of the importance of adaptation and mitigation and mainstreaming DRR in our laws, was every agency, I asked them to mainstream it in their budgets, meaning whether you are in the Department of Education and you teach it in your schools, or you have gulayan or vegetable gardens in elementary public schools in your areas, or you have water catchments in public schools, or perhaps you are in the DA, Department of Agriculture, and every road that you build, farm-to-market roads, must be subjected to certain standards so that these roads would withstand the heat or the rains. So it must be infrastructure that's resilient to the natural hazards that comes to us. If it is, let's say, the CHED, or the Commission on Higher Education, so that the state universities and colleges who have the capacity to also assist persons or to have projects that could help in climate adaptation. In short, each and every agency, whether you are in education or agriculture, whether you are in climate change or in Office of Civil Defense or in social welfare, the understanding and implementation of disaster risk reduction must be understood and implemented, so that we are not just a government of giving rice and canned goods and towels and slippers every time a storm hits. Meaning, before the Department of Public Works builds a school, builds a road, builds a municipal hall, they must look at the geohazard map and see, is this a geohazard area? Is this going to be affected if there is soil erosion from the mountain beside it? Are we supposed to do this? Are we planting enough mangroves as natural buffers against storm surge? Are we planting enough coconut palms as natural buffers or windbreakers? So all of these little things which some people or some colleagues might think, that I'm being very petty. I include in the national budget issues on coconut palms. They say she's talking about mangroves and coconut palms and coral reefs and water catchment and organic gardens. And the 2016 budget is replete with all my craziness. Okay, I'm just trying to say it in jest. They say she's crazy. But no one ever asked me. No one ever debated with me on everything I put. I put general and special provisions. Can we also give a soft copy for them? And it's letter. It's not monetary. It's not quantified. These are special provisions and general provisions. They probably didn't read it because all they want to see is how much budget we gave per department. But let it go on record so that next year, perhaps I'm no longer chairman of finance. I hope I'm still chairman, so it can still be a climate-sensitive budget. They will see, and I will carry it over in the next budgets, so that every agency of government could follow these special provisions. So what am I trying to say? The way to deal with a climate crisis needs creativity, innovation, political will, leadership, and patience. I've been dealing with this for decades. When I was a young journalist in television, maybe 30 years ago, I did documentaries on El Nino. I did documentaries on cleaning our rivers. I did documentaries on La Nina. They didn't understand it then. When I became a senator, more than 15 years, in 1998, these were the issues which I talked about, which they said were soft issues. But eventually, I was able to enact these laws, and they understand it now. After Typhoon Quetzal or Ondoy in 2009, after Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, and now with El Nino, after the deaths in Mindanao because the farmers were protesting because they were hungry. All of these have brought to national attention the issue of climate change as an issue that is a gut issue, as an issue which is a humanitarian issue. It has brought the issue of climate change as a human rights issue. And so I still stand by my statement. It's the greatest humanitarian challenge of our times. It is a national security issue. When wars will be waged because of land and its aridity, because of water and its scarcity. And so my passion of 30 years ago on climate change is even stronger and more intense now. And so what do I want to do? I need to have climate warriors and climate allies. And I think the reason why you are here today is because of your shared advocacy and because your country, beautiful as it is, has been adversely affected by natural hazards. And we see how perhaps vulnerability and lack of preparedness can lead to loss of lives and loss of livelihoods. And so I, as a three-term Philippine senator, would be more than willing to be not just a friend, but a consultant to the Nepalese parliament and executive department and government to share our Climate Change Act, our National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Law, our People Survival Fund, the mainstreaming of DRR and CCA in our national budget, and other environmental laws, if I may say, the Clean Air Act of 1999, the Clean Water Act of 2003, the Ecological Solid Waste Management Law, which is so important, the segregation of waste at source, recycling and composting, there it is, and the Renewable Energy Law of 2008. Am I author of biofuels also? I didn't know that. Okay, 2006, I forgot about. No, I think that's wrong. I'm not author of that because I was not senator in 2006. I resumed my post in 2007. So it is a law, but you should specify I didn't author that because I was not senator, so be accurate about that. And also check the date of solid waste management. I think it's 2001. It was signed by President Arroyo in 2000. So you update that, okay? Here am I correcting my stuff. My memory is very good. So RA 9003 is 2001 January, not 2000. I might have sponsored it in 2000. It was enacted into law 2001. So make sure your dates are correct, okay? Again, the AFMA is not mine because I became senator in 98, yes, these are related legislation, but not exactly mine. So we should specify which are related legislation and which are my legislation. Mine are Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Environmental Education Awareness Act, Renewable Energy Law, Ecological Solid Waste Management Law, National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Law, People Survival Fund, and Climate Change Law. Eight. And then what I'm focusing now is on the implementation of these laws. In fact, on Monday, we are going to Tacloban in Leyte. As you know, that was one of the most hard-hit areas in Typhoon Haiyan among many local governments affected in 2013. And I'm going there with the Deputy Ombudsman for Environment, where they have filed cases against airing local governments who still have open dumps because they violate Republic Act 9003, which is the Ecological Solid Waste Management Law. So I know that we have the National Planning Commission head here. Yes. Yes. So perhaps these laws would be very helpful. But maybe you're more advanced than us. Maybe you have better laws that you can also share with us. Yes. And we have the Education Minister present here today. Yes. And the Home Affairs, which is Disaster Management. Yeah, that's maybe like our DILG, the Department of Local Government. And Department of Finance is also, the head is also present here today. Yeah. That's very good because the V20, which is a product of the Climate Vulnerable Forum.
Joint Secretary from the Ministry of Local Development, Local Government.
A local government is also here, yes. I know that you're also a member of the CVF. Nepal is a member of the Climate Vulnerable Forum. It started with 20 countries, initiated by the Philippines, among many countries, by the Maldives president in 2009. I met with President Nasheed in 2009 during a UN visit, and that's where we discussed us, vulnerable nations, coming together. UNDP, that's our meeting when I first discussed the creation of the CVF with Mohammed Nasheed. I think because of their politics internally, he was eventually ousted and he was put to jail, but he's now based in Europe. But that's gossip, okay? So, not gossip, it's a political fact, correct? But that was my meeting with him, and he's an environmentalist, as you know, and we discussed the possibility of coming up with a climate vulnerable forum, and so it was born. And UNDP is the acting secretariat of CVF. Nepal, I'm happy to note, is a member of the CVF. From 20 countries, we're now 43 countries, and we have a CVF meeting on April 20, which I am chairing in New York. I am certain that Nepal will have their representative there. I wonder who is your rep. Would it be your finance minister? Is our finance minister here of Nepal? No? Who is representing Nepal in the CVF meeting on April 20? Maybe Ministry of Environment, yes. Maybe I could, yeah. My staff, Rachel, will be with me so we can seek them out, yes. So that we want to have one voice as members of the CVF. We want to have a strong voice so that we urge the ratification of the Paris Agreement. Yes. You will ratify the Paris Agreement, won't you? Yes. Okay. Can I say that? Can I say that one of the commitments that we have made in this meeting would be Nepal would within the year commit to ratify the Paris Agreement?
Ma'am, this team is basically comprised of bureaucrats. So, this team is not
in Parliament.
In Parliament. So, but we from
but
our.
You hold Parliament. You have allies in Parliament. Parliament. You have allies in Parliament. Your political party. No question about it that your Parliament should speedily, expeditiously ratify the Paris Agreement. If I have to talk to them, I will talk to your Senate President. What do you call the head of your Parliament? The Speaker of the House? Speaker.
Okay.
Can I have...
Wansari Gati is the lady.
Oh, she's a lady.
Yeah, now the good thing is now from at
Is
the
she a
moment,
climate activist?
President is ready and our Speaker is ready. And recently, 2-3 days back, the Chief Justice is also ready now.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yes. Who will decide on the ratification of the climate agreement?
Ratification, for ratification, it go to the Parliament.
Yeah. I would appreciate receiving the email of the head of Parliament, who's a lady, and I will email her to urge her to put it in priority agenda.
Okay, we'll communicate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll communicate.
Thank you.
Honorable Senator, Madam, friends, I think it has been a really very, very powerful deliberation for us that we came to know that how important and how difficult it is to take a new step and to establish a new thing in the contest, though it is very important. And is a continuous fighting of Madam Senator. It has changed situation in this country, but still I think a lot of things, to be done and way to go as we have. I think for anything to bring change, leadership matters. So leadership is the main thing that we understood that, and you know that we are in the similar. We two countries are in a similar situation. The one thing is that you are mostly I think reach of the water, sea water, and the equally vulnerable of this climate change impact. So we also but I think adaptation of the climate change, I think we will have the similar type of stepping, and similar type of law, similar type of understanding. Maybe in the localizing those things may have different acts, different actions, but I think we are having the similar situation. And then last year's in the same month, 1 year is going to pass that we had a very bad, very strong earthquake that affected almost 3 million plus population, and also damaged more than 800,000 houses and killed almost 9,000 people. And then this has, I think, sensitized and created a new will of learning and then acting on it. So, but it's still, I mean, if it comes to the priority, it comes to the funding and allocation, I think again we have to have a very strong, I think, pressure that we have to do on that. And also the now priorities are more in reconstruction and these things. So, but one thing is that in terms of pollution, I think Nepal is receiving the climate fund from that we are the less pollutant, and but we are contributing more and more. Almost 40% of the land is totally greenery. We have maintained that forest area. Yeah.
I'd like to know, what is your forest cover?
It's a 40%.
40% forest cover of the total land area.
Totally. It seems low, but I'll tell you the geographical fact is that 15% area is mostly the snow and mountains. So if we take out of that, then it goes more.
Yes.
Yeah.
So of the 100%, 15 is snow.
Yeah, 15 is the mountain region, and we have another 68%.
So with 85. So of 85, at least half are still forests. So yeah, correct. That's how you deal with it, because you can't expect snow to have forests. So out of 100.
And also, madam, out of that remaining 68% is the hills and mountains. Again, the
60
high mountains and hills.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
so you carve out the 60, 15 of which are still the snow.
We have only flatland is 15%,
Yes.
1/5. Only 1/5%.
But you have 40% forest, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have it in your constitution, just like Bhutan, where at no one time will there be lower than 60 or 70% forest cover? Is there such a provision in your constitution? Because I know that the Kingdom of Bhutan, when I went there a long time ago, because they're a new country, had included that in their constitution. The Chief Justice had told me that it is a constitutional mandate to always have a forest cover. I'm not certain. Is it 60 or 70%, Rachel?
That provision is not included in our constitution.
Yeah. But you could, if it's not in your constitution, you could probably enact it into law, because you are very blessed to have 40% forest cover over your total land area. You'll never know in the next generations if they will be as protective as this generation. So probably what you could do is enact a law that we are grateful for what we have now. We want to retain it and sustain it for the next generations to come. So you file a bill, you're not parliamentarians, but suggest your parliament to file a bill on the permanent forest cover bill.
Yeah, it's
right?
Really, thank you, ma'am.
Right?
It's really
so
very.
It may, or you can have a constitutional convention to amend your constitution so that your constitution will include a permanent forest cover, just like the Kingdom of Bhutan. I'm not sure what is stated in their constitution, but that is what the Chief Justice told me when I was there. if not a legislation. I cannot do it in my country because we're too many already, and the forest cover is so low. We have less than 1 million hectares of primary forest. It's so dangerous. But you still can be saved because you're still pristine.
Yeah,
Like us, we're too many, and it's different. It's islands, etc. Yeah.
See, looking at the land, we
Yes.
also have a small country, and only 18% land is arable, or other
Yes.
lands on hills and mountains.
Yes.
So we also have the land pressure is there. But the good thing we have is that the most of the forests are managed by the community.
Yes.
Earlier, almost all the forest was destroyed. Now, replantation, management, and everything is done by the. And we have the community forestry is the model in the world. So we in that fashion we are managing, and we are empowering the community for the managing the forest. So it is only the certain strategic forest that is controlled by only the wildlife reserve and the conservation areas. Those are controlled by the government directly, the armed police and.
So what you're saying is that your community-based forest management is very successful.
Very, very successful.
The people don't abuse it and cut the trees and use it for timber or cut timber or use it for kaingin. What's kaingin in English?
They keep certain stock and they again replant and it's continue.
But you allow logging.
Yeah, they are allowed to logging, but there is
Should
some
you
certain
not ban
rules.
logging? Should you not ban logging in your country?
Yeah, we use that, but taking the certain, there is a rule. There is the experts they will see and they will control, but in certain period of certain month or few weeks, they do just go and collect those damaged woods and these things. They will take out and just try to keep it intact. So
they
that's the
they
point.
have to develop their forest management plan,
Yes.
and it has to be approved by the Office of Forest Management. So they can't do anything as their own. So they have to develop the management plan, and they should do the cutting the forest or planting, whatever it is. So it should be approved by our authority, the government authority.
So our oversight type of function is done by the government agencies.
Does your environment department have a database or inventory of your biodiversity? Because you're such a wealthy nation in terms of biodiversity, your flora, your fauna, your indigenous species of trees, plants, and your flowers, all
Yes.
your herbs. You have a database of that?
Yeah, we have database, but yeah, definitely
That would be so
may
good.
not be very perfect, but database is there, and
What
we
are the
continuing.
endangered species,
Yeah,
those which
everything
are
is there.
almost extinct? It would be good to have an inventory of all your flora and fauna.
Yeah, we are continuously receiving the good conservation of the tigers and the rhinos, one horn, single horn rhinos.
Yes.
So we are maintaining, and the number is growing, not declining. So,
okay.
so certain things are
Yes.
really.
Also, one of my advocacies also is the preservation of indigenous culture. You also have the local communities, the indigenous people and
Many,
their culture.
many. I'll tell you, being a small country and with
But you've so much.
27, 28 million population, we are having
But-
123 dialects and almost the similar number of communities.
How nice. We have over 100 indigenous peoples groups also and different languages as well.
Yeah.
But for such a small nation, but you have so many local dialects, no?
Yeah.
It would be good also to preserve these local languages as local dialects as well as indigenous peoples and really promote their culture because that's your wealth as a nation.
So this is we are really strong about this policy and these
Yes.
things. In their reservation quotas and everything in the
And
parliament. also.
protect the old villages, the
in
old
parliament.
heritage villages, the
Yeah.
old buildings.
Yeah. In our constitution now, 33% participants must be there in the parliament by women.
Oh.
Similarly, the other quotas also, other seats are also allocated that at least all the minority community they should be participated in every sector, like in the government bureaucracy as well as in the parliament as well.
Good. Thank you. When did you arrive?
We arrived on Sunday.
Oh, already. It's been, so this is the fourth day.
So even we actually, I just want to share some of the experience that we went to the Albay.
You went to Albay?
Albay, yesterday we
see,
came
in
back.
Bicol.
Day before yesterday we went there. And yesterday, and we also had, we have visited the municipalities.
Which municipality? In Albay?
Yeah. In
Oh, what is there?
Two municipalities.
Yeah, okay, municipality, no?
Kamalig. Did you
Kamalig.
meet with Governor Salceda also?
We tried, but we could not.
Why?
Uh,
Also, yeah.
We met the mayor of the Albay, municipality, and also we have visited the resettlement housing area.
Resettlement from the Mayon.
Yeah, the Mahani, yeah.
Okay. Yes. So, apart from visiting Albay, what were the other activities?
We had
Started from the
started from the UNICEF office, and then some presentations, and then also we went to the
civil defense.
You met with Yusek Pama already?
yeah.
Okay. Yes.
And also we managed to visit the Canadians Academy in Legazpi. So that was really impressive to see how the climate change has been impacted, and also put a map through the different hazard, how it has been impacted. It was really, really impressive and encouraging for us.
Very good. And when are they leaving?
We are leaving on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Saturday
Tomorrow
morning.
is the last day, yeah, for us.
Would you be interested to go to the National Museum to see the textile gallery of our indigenous peoples? Which is just 10 minutes away from here.
Yeah, maybe on Saturday, because today we have another meeting with the.
Yeah.
What is your next meeting?
Later we're going to meet with the Disaster Risk Reduction Network, the network of civil society organizations.
Okay.
And then tomorrow they're going to meet with technical agencies. So they'll be meeting with the Project NOAA, FIVOX, and then MMDA. So it's more of the demonstration of like the technical capacities that
Okay.
we have. So
Yes.
that's their last day tomorrow.
What is all this? Quezon City?
Tomorrow it's Quezon City and then Guadalupe.
Malayo. It's far.
Yeah, we go to this.
And today your next meeting is in Manila, no?
Is in Quezon City.
Malayo. Yeah, the National Museum is in Manila. Okay.
They had a full week. So first day was meeting with the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council with the vice chairpersons for each committee. And then we went to Albay, the governor, and then municipality of Santo Domingo and another municipality for resettlement.
Okay, good. Yes. Okay. Did they get to meet another senator? No.
Oh, ma'am. Only you.
It's the first time in the Senate now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You as the champion and advocate for DRR and climate change adaptation.
So perhaps you could be the point person for my staff to email
Yeah.
all the bills,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that while they are not in Parliament, it could be seen how it could be implemented in their country or introduced to their parliamentarians.
Yes.
Yeah. So the 8, no, not just the DRR and climate change, but the 8 laws.
And also, yeah, we have some parliament members. They are very active and they're continuously working in this field. So I think, yeah, we will share those documents with him, and we'll have a meeting with him, and also share the experience that we
Yes.
learned from the Philippines. I
Yes.
think, and maybe it will be very useful. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I really apologize for being 45 minutes late. That's no reason for that. I mean, no excuses. I'm so sorry. But I welcome you once again. And I thank you for selecting to come to the Senate. And I hope that in the brief exchange, we're able to share with you the policies and the laws that I've authored in the past 15 years. I will also give you some of my books. One is a copy of the speeches I've done in the past 10 years. The other one is my journey as a climate champion of the United Nations. And the other one is a documentation of indigenous environmental practice of the northern part of the Philippines, the Cordillera. So this is for your library. Yes. And can I have a dayaw? But it's in Tagalog, no? But never mind. I'll give a CD of Dayaw, the documentary series that I did, although it's in Filipino or local language, but you can just look at the pictures and the video. That's fine. Yes. So maybe I should give this to you, yes, so that we can have a photo here. Pahanda mo na yun. Yeah, okay. Maybe you can join us, please.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can be
Let's go.
we can be together here.